Hey there, thanks for tuning into Duck Bricks. I'm Chris, and welcome to our review of the brand new LEGO Castle Medieval Town Square, where yes, the Wolfpack faction is back. If you don't know what Wolfpack is, it was one of the classic LEGO Castle sub-themes, and it is so cool to see these fully modernized in a brand new 2024 LEGO set. Now this is not all, because this is actually technically a reimagining of the original LEGO Castle Medieval Village, which if you come on over here, you can see all the way up at the top there, one of my all-time favorite LEGO Castle sets from the Fantasy Era sub-theme in 2008. Really cool that we're getting more and more civilian-based LEGO Castle sub-themes like this one, and while Castle may not be back as a full-on theme, I'm really happy that we're getting these highly detailed LEGO Icons reimaginings because they are really cool, and so let's go ahead and dive on into not just a review of the brand new medieval village, but also a comparison to the original medieval market village and trying to figure out which of the sets is best. That's all for now, and let's jump into the review. Hey there. This is set number 10332. It is the 2024 Medieval Town Square, which came with 3,304 pieces and retailed for $230, 230 euros, or 200 British pounds, which puts it around a 7-cent price per part ratio. It is an 18+ set, and it's officially a reimagining of this. This is set number 10193 Medieval Market Village. This is a set that came out for the LEGO Castle Fantasy Era line in 2009, which came with 1,601 pieces, retailed for $100 and 72 British pounds, which adjusting for inflation is around $140 today, and because of that it means the price per part ratio would be approximately 11 cents. One thing I do have to note is that what I have pictured here are only the two main buildings that came in the set. It also came with a small tree, 2 cows, a couple of different minifigures, as well as a small market stall, and even some brick-built chickens and a table, plus a horse and a cart. So there were a few other things included in this set as well. For the purposes of this video, I'm going to be comparing the two models because it explicitly states in the instruction manual for this set that the previous set served as direct inspiration, even though they've taken it in a pretty different direction and one that feels very unique compared to what we got before. And now, without further ado, let's jump into our look at the brand new LEGO Medieval Town Square, a set that has proved to be fairly controversial upon release, reveal, and launch, and I'm really curious to hear what people think about it. Some people love it, some people really don't love it, and now we're going to take a look at all of its details, so let's go. Setting aside all of the extras here, I want to dive a little bit closer into the two main buildings themselves. And the way these are done are really interesting because the buildings are essentially made to be fully three-dimensional from every single angle that they can be viewed by. They're fully enclosed and they form a complete scene, which I really appreciate. This first building here is basically just a full-on building to itself. It's a combination between a mill, a cheese factory, a garden, an ironsmith, and there are so many different things going on with this building while still making it a very complete package. I'm going to set aside this other building and we'll just start with this one to begin things because this has enough going on with it as it is, and it's really cool because this just has so many different detailed elements factored into the build itself that really make it come alive and feel extraordinarily detailed. Of course, this does open up so you can swing these outwards to reveal the interior of both the buildings, and I guess depending on whatever angle you want to put it at, this does feel like a suitable layout as well, although of course once you start to rotate things around, you'll notice that the interiors are actually fully detailed. The roofs are removable, so I'm going to set aside the roofs right now so we can just take a closer look at each of the buildings and see what exactly this set has to offer. This first area here for this building is a cheese factory. Yes, it does feature the infamous return of the goat. More on that later when we take a look at the figures and animals included in this set. But on the inside, this is really charming because you can see there's a kid on the inside who kind of belongs in the cheese factory area. There's all sorts of different cheeses that have been left out to be processed. There's a fireplace, a cat with a bucket of milk, and then a few cooking supplies as well, which are really nice. Here you have a pretty nice build for a chair that is surprisingly a little bit more complicated than what we would expect to see in some other chair style of builds. It's using a really nice studs on the side piece to kind of get that studs on the side angle for the chair itself, and it's quite clever. I like the way that's built, just something I wanted to point out. Moving onwards to the rock building here, this is more of a grain/armory area for the wood makers. So This is a woodmaker who is presumably kind of a craftsperson. She is making armor and weapons, so there are some kind of details of shields and bows, but she's also making chairs. You can see that there is a sticker that kind of shows an actual chair being made, which is a really nice inclusion, kind of talking through the design of some of the chairs themselves. So you have her blueprints there for one of the chairs, and then you have the actual chair on the inside there just being crafted by the craftsman right here. It's a nice touch, and as you rotate on the upper hand here, you may notice that this entire level does remove off, and this is an area where there is a kind of wheel type of system being crafted. You've got the wheel in here, you've got a cart being ready, you've got wood and planks, and the entire thing has this special mechanism where if you twist these Exoforce claw elements, you can lock or unlock different aspects of the way that this is set up. And then by doing that, you can actually be able to set this up one at a time. It's an interesting feature, and to be honest, the Exoforce claw hands here kind of throw me off a little bit. Like, I don't really necessarily know how I feel about that, but it is cool how, like, twisting one of them will allow you to deploy the trap door here. You can kind of twist it to close it, and you twist this just to open it, and then twisting this one does allow you to unlock these strings. So if you have it just mounted back like this, you twist this here, you can allow the string to furl outwards, then you twist it, and now it is fully taut. It's not going to be going outwards, and you just twist this inwards to cause it to lock. It's a very clever mechanism that works very well. I just feel like the aesthetics of having these actual claw arms being used as the pieces for these stoppers are a little bit strange, but it's not that big of a deal. Moving onwards, I'm going to close up the roof of this building here so we can just take a look at the next part. I think this is the roof. Yeah, there we go. We can take a look at this last segment of the building here, and here we have a tapestry artist. Now, the tapestry artist here has, of course, a phenomenal reference to the original Yellow Castle. So there you have it, and one of the original LEGO medieval joust sets as well, which is really cool because this is actually removable, so you can place this out as a display piece. You can see the string holding the tapestries together, and back there you have all different colors of thread that have been used to create the tapestry itself, which is very nice. Even this area has a kitchen as well, so it's funny how this building kind of has two different kitchens. Overall, I really like just how much character there is in this particular area of the build. This really does feel like a section come to life, and I really do appreciate how the different characters are fully formed to represent their different occupations. The tapestry weaver has a pair of scissors, as well as the carpenter having an axe here, plus a good accessory for that, and even the cheese-making boy with a spoon. You kind of see them all fulfilling their individual roles. Now, closing up this particular building here, one thing that I've seen a lot of people talk about is the color scheme. And I feel like that's a little bit more applicable, and I'll have more stuff to talk about when it comes to the color scheme of the other building, because that one I feel has garnered a little bit more controversy. But for me, I really like how the colors are broken up in this model. You have the black and white and dark red for the windows, which feels really nice and clean for the way this is set up. The other building here feels distinct and different, with the tan and the brown having this really nice kind of medieval style of pattern for this European style of building, and I really do appreciate the way that they've actually been able to accomplish all of these inner intricate lines by putting pieces on their sides. In fact, almost all of the wall here is Piron studs on the side construction, something that the original model, which we got back in 2009, which we'll be doing direct comparisons later in the video, just didn't really have the building techniques and prowess to pull off in that day and age. Moving onwards to the center building, that's probably the least interesting. It is just a gray castle-y style of barn, but I think it works well for what it's trying to do, and it really does tie these two buildings together. One thing I want to point out is the beautiful thatched roof here. You've got these fur elements from Chima being used to form the thatched roof, which looks so good. I love how you actually have these ones at an angle, so you can actually really get up close and personal to the details of it, and they really even broke it up by a few imperfections and spots where it isn't just fully uniform, making this feel that much more real and organic. The way they did the roof technique for this and for the other building is really impressive, and I am very, very happy with that particular level of the construction. Moving onwards though, I think it's time to take a look at the larger building, because this one has a little bit more going on, and this one is, much like the original medieval market village, the kind of building that is meant to be split open and has two pretty different sides on either side. On one side here, you have a bit of a restaurant, so you have the fork and knife there, maybe a bit of an armory on this bottom area as well, and on the other side, you actually have an encampment for the Lion Knights, kind of mimicking the style of the Lion Knights castle as an outpost, and you also have a painter on the inside. So you go inside and there's actually a painter's area for this red building here. And altogether, this actually looks really good from pretty much all angles. Again, you're using that studs on the side technique to really capture the lines of the building itself. More on the color scheme later, but so far the building techniques itself are really good, the building techniques themselves. And when you open it up, this is absolutely rich with all sorts of interior details. On the inside here for the painter's area, you've got all sorts of paint splatters on the floor. You can see a blank white shield that's being decorated as we speak, which is really cool. And I even like the little painting of the Royal Knight on a horse there, which is another reference to Lego Classic Castle. So that's really nice to see. Down here on this section of the restaurant area, you have kind of an ale or maybe just a spirits, or it could be juice bottle. You know, we're in the world of Lego. Maybe it's a bottle full of juice here, a barrel full of it. And you also have a game of chess being played, which is quite nice, as well as a musical instrument that perhaps a bard could be using along their travels. And then moving upwards, you've got the actual kitchen area. You've got a crab, a turkey, which might not be the most historically accurate looking like this, but let's be real, you're not buying a Lego set for historical accuracy, so that's not really something that I factor into my reviews, and just all sorts of different details into the kitchen itself. On the top layer, removing the minifigure here, which we'll take a look at later on, you've got a private quarters and a bedroom. There's a sword, a candle, a letter being written. Yes, even maybe a block of cheese on the top there, you know, an emergency cheese by your bed. Who doesn't have one of those? And just a really nice small style of bed that they've managed to squeeze in here. Now moving on to the other part of the building, you've got some more living quarters for some of the other minifigures. Again, really like how all of these figures, like this one who's maybe kind of serving guests at the restaurant, and then this one who is the painter, they all kind of feel like they have their own individual occupations. More on these very interesting characters later, but you've got all sorts of really nice details factored into these rooms. Even a door that does open up. It's a very compact door, but it does open up inside of there, and there's a better look at that painter's area with the minifigure out of the way. Overall, this is the kind of building to me that feels the most like a traditional Lego style of medieval building that they would do. Sure, there's a lot more asymmetry here, there are a lot more wacky building techniques that you really wouldn't expect from a classic Lego set, but it's just this dollhouse style concept of something that can close up into a fully enclosed building, but opens up to be a really nice looking facade exterior is something that just screams classic Lego to me. I love all of the details added in here, such as the inclusion of a small bird's nest utilizing a Lego beard element, which is a really unique parts usage, but as you can see there, the bird's nest is using a beard, which I think is actually a really good way to use that part. Of course, the windows borrow the same technique from the Lion Knight's castle, having the narrowest of slits to look through, and then you have a slightly wider one up at the top, and overall, this just feels very fully formed. The rock work is great around the area of this watchtower itself. You've got all sorts of nice details, the dark green trees looking good as well. And overall, out of the two buildings, I feel like this is the one that interests me the most. This is the one that I really was gravitating towards. And the only shame is that when it's closed up, it is fully enclosed, but you kind of miss out on some of those interesting details. I mean, like looking at it from this side, which is probably my preferred side, you get this really nice red and black building, which reminds me of one of my favorite vintage castle sets, the Guarded Inn, but then you don't really get to see a lot of the nice exterior details of the other side, and you can really only appreciate a building like this when it's fully unfurled like so. Now, I just want to talk a little bit about the rest of the pieces included in the set before we do some direct comparisons and talk about value. Much like the original medieval market village, this contains a small tree, which is much improved over the original, but also, honestly, left a little bit to be desired in terms of the building techniques. I'm going to be completely honest, I was expecting a little bit more from modern Lego building techniques. I really would have loved to see this utilize the brand new Lego Friends leaf elements, but presumably the designers just did not have access to those pieces when they were making this set. This to me feels the closest to what we would have seen from a Lego tree in like the late 2000s, and I feel like Lego building techniques have evolved a lot since then, but other than an interesting usage for the Ninjago dragon horn piece for the tree trunk here, as well as the Technic macaroni piece, the leaves themselves feel really lackluster, and I'm honestly not the biggest fan of this particular tree build, but the good thing is it doesn't really take up that much space in the build itself. Now, I do, however, really like the references here. There you can see a reference to Basil the Batlord. You can see he's using the new CMF style of helmet there, which is really nice to have that CMF and classic Lego Dragon be integrated with a Beware there. And then on the other side, you have some ads. You have a wanted poster for one of the Wolfpack soldiers, as well as the goat going on sale from $40 to $10, which, I mean, that has got to be the funniest inside joke included in a Lego sticker in a long time. Obviously, for those who, I mean, everyone watching this video probably is aware, the GOAT only came in one LEGO Kingdom set in 2011. The price skyrocketed for a while. It was $70 on Bricklink, and that was kind of the price for a while. I think it would be even funnier if they made it $70. Then the price kind of went down to $50, $60, and even $40 when this set first leaked, like over a year ago, when people first saw images and saw the GOAT was coming back. And they're actually referencing the GOAT prices dropping, like the aftermarket prices are going down, referenced in a sticker, which is wild to me that there is an official Lego sticker referencing the aftermarket for Lego pieces, but it's very, very funny. Ninjago City Markets also last year did a missing sign with the GOAT, and we're finally getting the GOAT in the set. Yes, we will look at our boy in due time. It's coming. We'll take a look at him very, very soon. He's adorable, but we'll take a look at the rest of the set first. Now, there are some other additional builds included in the set as well, but honestly, they don't really do too much for me. You have a market stand area for cheese, so presumably the cheese vendor will be able to man this stand and actually sell their wares. So it's just a nice homage to the original medieval market village, which had an actual market stall in it. Here you have an area where the shields are being decorated. The one thing I really do like is they've introduced a new shield for the set. This is a specialized kind of oval version of the Lion Knight shield. It is really regal. I can see this being wielded by the Queen of the Lion Knights, so that's going to look really good on my minifigure wall. And then you have a bit of a cart here, but unfortunately no animal included in the set that can pull the cart. I guess minifigures are meant to pull this one, so really you're supposed to like take a minifigure and have them be pulling the cart behind them. But it is disappointing that this set doesn't even include a single horse or even better a cow, and really the only animal we do get in the set is basically the goat and I guess the small bird. So I was honestly hoping for a little bit more. There's a kitten as well, but any larger animal is unfortunately omitted. Moving onwards, there is just another very, very small build here. It is the most simple build for chopping down wood, so you can use the axe to kind of chop the wood, and the instructions just literally have you build this, put it to the side, and kind of let the axe just like rest on it. So it just kind of says like, put the axe there, let this rest on its side, and you prop it up. And yeah, I guess this totally works okay for dioramas. It's a little annoying trying to like balance the axe on this because it just doesn't want to stay there often, but I feel like that looks pretty good to me. You know, like that's a good way to leave it. It's just kind of a throwaway side build though. But moving onwards, I just want to give my overall thoughts on the price and value of the set, as well as the color composition, because I feel like when this set was first revealed, there were a lot of comments about the coloration of the buildings, and a lot of people were not happy with it, and I'm kind of curious as to why. I think for me, I'm a little mixed on it. I love the red and black because that really feels like a classic medieval town. It also ties back to the Garden Inn, which is a great set, so that's really good. I also really like this building. The tan and brown looks phenomenal. The white and black also looks really good. This middle area is kind of okay, and maybe the color blocking could be a little bit more visually engaging for this building, but overall, it's not bad. I actually do like the colors. The thing that is admittedly throwing me off maybe a little bit here, not as much as most people, but it is throwing me a little bit, is the olive green used for this building. I don't know, there's just something about it that doesn't quite feel like a medieval style of building. I'm not even sure what color I would have used differently. Like, I don't even know what color would have been good there. I wouldn't have wanted it to be gray because I think gray would have been too boring to use. So maybe that was the only color that could work, and I'm sure folks in the comments have a million suggestions for how that color could have been improved. But overall, that's really the only color to me. That isn't really a major negative downside of the set, but it's just kind of something where I'm like, yeah, I don't really know how I feel about that color choice. It just feels a little weird to me. Maybe not dark tan for this, maybe if it was dark orange for the side pieces instead. I really don't know. It's just that the color of this kind of dark tan really blends into the olive green. Like, you have all of these studs in the side details here, but you can barely even notice that you're using these studs in the side details until you really zoom in and really see the difference between these colors, especially when they're in small, narrow strips. I don't know, it's just something about it just doesn't visually pop to me. It's not that big of a deal, but just something I did want to point out. Overall though, this is pretty phenomenal value for money, and a lot of people are saying this set is overpriced, and I'm gonna be honest, I don't really understand that sentiment. Do not worry, I of all people will be the first to absolutely roast LEGO for making sets overpriced. I ripped into the Hoopty, I ripped into the X-Men jet. There are so many overpriced LEGO sets out there today, and I am not afraid to speak my mind, especially because I'm buying all of these sets myself. I didn't get any of these for free from the Ambassador Network. I am going out and spending my own money to buy these sets, and I'm more than happy to actually state that, yes, I feel like certain sets are overpriced. This, however, is not one of them. $230 or euros for 3,304 pieces is really good. And even setting the piece count aside, because I know for a lot of people, piece count isn't everything, and I do believe that. Piece count is just one small part of the equation. What you really are looking for here is value for money. And to me, I feel like I'm getting it. These are two beefy buildings. There's so much detail to them. The roof work is phenomenal. The amount of detail is rich. Every single building tells a story. There's even a brand new mold introduced. I didn't even mention this, but that's a brand new mold for a medieval door, which shows that LEGO is investing in making medieval buildings and hopefully will continue to give us stuff like this if this set does well. And this set has a phenomenal value and price point. Almost all the minifigures are unique and new. Obviously, the Lion Knight is reused, as well as some of these civilians. Like, this is kind of a mismatch reuse of some character parts, same as this one, but the Wolfpack soldier is all new. You've got this brand new kind of Baron or Knight character. Maybe he's a scribe who's also brand new. You also got a new color for the goat. There's a lot of really cool stuff in this set, and I genuinely feel like the price is more than fair, especially compared to a lot of really expensive LEGO sets this year and last year that shouldn't be as expensive as they are. This is kind of a breath of fresh air, and I really like it for what it is. I do want to spend some time briefly looking at the minifigures though. The highlight of the set for me is obviously the Wolfpack minifigure, because this guy right here is just so good. I love how they brought back Wolfpack as a faction for the modern castle people to fight. On the back of the torso, you do have a special printing as well. If you don't know, Wolfpack, obviously, as I showed in the intro of the video, is a beloved classic castle sub-theme. And this is just perfect. I love the way they updated the logo. It feels even more menacing than the original, while still having that kind of cute LEGO factor to it. And I just wish they included more than one Wolfpack soldier here, because having just one of them doesn't quite feel right to me. The other character that got a lot of focus and attention for the set is this guy right here, who's kind of a scribe writing about the adventures of the knights. I don't necessarily know if this ties into any one particular theme or reference from Classic Castle. I could be forgetting something, so folks in the comments, do let me know if this is a reference to something I'm forgetting, but to me this kind of feels like just an original concept for a medieval character. We didn't really get a lot of minifigures in purple before, so this is really nice, and I do like the facial expression that they used for him. It's just a really good one to use for the character. Moving onwards, honestly, the rest of the characters are a little hit or miss. They're not the most exciting to me. The Lion Knight soldier is just one that you can get a ton of times, but I do love how the helmet works with the mustache. I didn't even realize those pieces work well together, and that's so good. I love that you can do that. The kind of, I guess the cook or the chef or the bartender here is good. I think the printing on the torso is fairly decent. I like this style of hood being used, like the Spider-Gwen style, but it's nothing too crazy, just another civilian figure. This is probably the least interesting one, because this one reuses the torso we got in the Lion Knight's castle, and I feel like the headpiece and the hair is just kind of a generic city style of thing, so this one doesn't really do anything super interesting for me, but it is still good to get civilians. And this one here, and yes, I know people will complain about the braided hair not being historically accurate, but again, you're buying a LEGO set, you're not buying like a recreation of a legitimate medieval town. I think it's fine. I think this hair does feel a bit historical, like you kind of have somewhat of a historical feel to it, even if it's the wrong era and the wrong time period and the wrong place, but it's nice. The torso is also good, just getting another generic fantasy-inspired torso. And same for the kid. I actually really like the kid's torso. He reminds me of some of the young kids we would get in some of the older LEGO Castle stuff. Lastly, you have the seamstress here, the seamster, and he's good. He's got his scissors, you've got a satchel, and the torso is also pretty plain, but pretty acceptable for a medieval market village denizen. Honestly, Really, the only thing that I think would have been cool were to maybe get more knights or more references to classic castle. Like, it would have been really cool to see a royal knight, or maybe just like a different version of Black Falcons, or maybe a different version of Forest Men, or even a Fright Knight in here would have been really cool, because we literally just got Basil the Batlord, so getting an actual Fright Knight would be awesome. And yes, I know a few years back we got one as a CMF, but it'd be cool to see it in here. But overall, I think the lineup of minifigures is alright. And yes, this set and the collectible minifigure is what resurrected the goat mold. And, well, resurrected, I mean they basically had to make the new mold from scratch. There are a few minute differences between this and the OG. But this is so cute. I love how he got it in dark gray and tan. I feel like that is a genuinely really good and solid color scheme for the goat itself. And I hope they will continue to include this in more sets, hopefully with printing on the side, because so far this year, the two goats we've gotten have not had printing on the side, and that was a feature of the original that was really, really nice. But now I think it's time to do some direct comparisons to the original. I've seen a lot of comments online of people saying, oh, the original is so much better than this. It is leagues ahead of this set. And I'm going to be honest, I think a lot of that is being blinded by nostalgia. Do not get me wrong. I genuinely have so many good childhood memories of playing with the set. There's a reason why all the other accessories aren't here, and well, that's because this was a set I played with. I loved this set as a kid. This was one of my favorite sets. I got it for Christmas in like 2009, and it was so memorable to me. But I will have to say that the building techniques from 2009 to today are absolutely night and day. This feels like a slightly better version of the buildings that we would get in the 80s. Sure, there might be a few interesting things. You've got some studs in the side details here with the turntables. I guess the windows here are laid out in some interesting ways. You've got vehicle hubcaps being used here in good ways, and you do have a function for actually turning the water wheel here. But this to me feels like just a slightly better version of what LEGO was doing back in even the 80s and 90s. Like, it's just a little better. Obviously, building techniques refined a lot from the 80s and 90s to 2009, but at its core, this is a very, very simple build. It's very simplistic. It's very two-dimensional. Even when the buildings are fully enclosed, it just feels very boxy and very rectangular. It's just very tried and true. It's a simple building technique. When you compare it to this, the difference is genuinely night and day. This feels so much more lived in. There are so many different scenes going on inside every single building. This building alone is home to 3 different things going on different levels of the buildings. I mean, some would argue even 4 different things going on. And then over here, you have a watchtower, a painter, and a restaurant factored all into one building. You have so many different detailed elements. The asymmetry of this build is just so much more visually engaging and feels so much more real than something like this, which just feels very simplistic as a toy for its time. Don't get me wrong, I don't want to knock the original set. It's a fun set. It is genuinely a lot of fun. As I said, so many great memories playing with it. But then when you compare the interiors, it's also pretty night and day. Like, the most complicated interior is this, and you just have, okay, you've got some shelves, you have some goblets here, a mouse, but nothing super crazy going on. Same for here, you basically just have a bed and a small fireplace. This room is practically empty with just a bench and a little bit of a dresser area. And then here, there's literally nothing going on here. It's just the way for the door to open. The same kind of goes for this area. This is the most interesting thing happening with a simple blacksmith shop, but it's not the most engaging thing. Like, it's a fun play feature, but it's not the most detailed thing. Here you just have horse stables, so just kind of more empty space. Up here, lots of empty space, and you do have like this kind of, I like this build actually. This is a nice little like furnace build, so that's kind of nice how they have that open and close, and the portraits of the characters included in the set are nice, but again, not the most visually engaging thing, especially on the interior. And when the buildings are closed up, they feel very simplistic and honestly pretty small. It's also a little bit annoying, and yeah, some of this is due to age, but getting the Technic pins to actually close up here is really annoying to do. But there you have it. That's what it looks like closed up. And the buildings just feel rectangular. They feel basic, they feel square, and this to me feels very similar to like the blacksmith shop that we got back in 2002 for, like, it was a good mock build in 2002. You know, but LEGO has improved so much since this. This is a set that today has an around 11 cent price per part ratio adjusting for inflation, which means that the value for this set honestly wasn't even that good compared to what you're getting here with 7 cents price per part and so much more going on in the scenes. Is this set perfect? Definitely not. There are a lot of things that I feel I would have changed. The color scheme of this feels a little muddled. I'm not really happy with the tree, and the tree was honestly one of the most disappointing parts of the set because I was looking forward to LEGO flexing how they've improved their tree techniques from the older set to this one, and the answer is they just didn't. I mean, they basically are just using the same pieces for the tree, so it's honestly a little bit of a letdown for that, but the buildings themselves feel alive, they feel vibrant, they feel lived in. There's so much more usable and playable space inside each of these buildings. The characters feel like they come alive, and yeah, I'm a fan of this set, and I know that some people online are not, and I'd love to hear your comments as to why, but I genuinely do think this is one of the best LEGO castle sets ever made. And I do hope this does well, because if this set sells well, that means LEGO might consider doing even more castle buildings like it coming up in the future. And I, for one, would welcome the return of LEGO Castle as a full-on theme. Not even just through icons and 18+ stuff like this, but as a legit theme. Remember when we got like $20 castle sets? Well, that's maybe a topic for another video as to why that doesn't happen anymore. But this is genuinely a really phenomenal set. I'm a big fan of the way it was done. Yes, I love the original. It has a very special place in my heart. I have a lot of nostalgia for this style of LEGO builds. But you cannot deny that LEGO as a company has absolutely grown and evolved and continued to just make builds that are better and better and better and better and better and so much better year after year. That's all for this review and comparison, and I hope you liked our look at this brand new set. All right, and with that, we have summed up our review of the brand new Medieval Town Square. This is a really cool set that just came out on March 1st, 2024. I hope you enjoyed our special look at this brand new LEGO set. Thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to like and subscribe for even more LEGO news, reviews, discussion, and analyses coming your way very soon. Thanks so much, and bye for now.